So Marie, tell us a little bit about your family. You have a pretty unique family. We just want a little portrait of your family. When were you born?
I was born September 9th, 1916, in a little town in the province of Quebec. And my father's name was George, and my mother's name was Edith Pelletier.
And how many children in your family?
I'm the
You were-
12th child and last. And they're all dead now. I'm the only living one. Well, at 98.
What was it like to be 12 children in your family?
I never, I always felt wanted, and we really got along very well in our family. So being 12 was not a problem. In fact, sometimes it was an asset. When big brothers used to take me out for rides, and my sisters took me out to do some shopping. So, and I had a younger sister that I used to play a lot with. So really, we were never lonesome in our family.
And what did your father do for work?
My father was, the last work that he did was a carpenter. But before that, he, in Canada, his father had given him an education because his arm from here to here was just skin and bones. So they thought that giving him an education would lessen the type of work that he would do. So he was, he was a counselor, like, in the town where we were. And he used to visit the schools. And my sisters used to say, well, we had to say, bonjour, bonjour, monsieur l'inspecteur. And they used to have a lot of fun with that, you know, that my father was the inspector of the schools.
So how old were you when you left Canada?
Connie, I want you to move a little closer to the camera. Okay, just
I was 7 years old when I came to the United States, and we first landed in Rhode Island, in River Point, Rhode Island, and from there we went to Waterbury. That's where my brothers had found work, so from there we went to Waterbury.
And so you lived most of your life in Waterbury as a child.
As a child, yes.
And can you tell us a little bit about how did you become a daughter of the Holy Spirit? What happened?
You know, like most of us, we went to school with the daughters, and of course, they influenced us. It was a natural thing. And after the 8th grade, I decided that I wanted to go to Putnam. So that's what I did. And I did my high school there and did my postulate and then went to France. In 1935, I made profession.
Again?
In 1935, I made profession. And here I am, a daughter, since all those years.
How did you know that you were to be called to be a daughter of the Holy Spirit?
I'm hearing you with your hums.
How did you know that you were called to be a daughter of the Holy Spirit?
I know, I just knew, I guess. I can't remember any exact event, but I kind of knew that I wanted to be a nun. I admired them, you know, I was in school with them. So I guess that's where I was destined to be.
What was it that you admired about them?
Well, their dedication, for one thing. They were teachers, and they really saw to it that we learned, and especially they instilled in us our religious principles, you know, that people brought with them throughout their lives.
Okay, so you said you made profession in 1935.
1935.
And was that in France?
That was in France.
What was it like for a young girl? How old were you when you went to France?
Wait a minute.
You were
I
like
was 18.
18.
18,
And
yeah.
you left this country to go to France.
Yeah.
And what was that experience of your time in France?
I enjoyed it, to tell you the truth. I enjoyed France, I enjoyed my novitiate, and I really was very happy there. And after profession, I stayed in France. I went to Lannion, a little town, but as I didn't have any diplomas, you know, from France, I wasn't able to teach. So the following year, I went to Belgium, and that was another experience too. I taught a little bit there, and I gave a few music lessons to beginners. So, and that was only 1 year, because after Belgium, I came back to the United States.
And could you talk a little bit about your ministries? What did you do when you came back to the United States?
I was placed in Pittsfield. The school was just opening, so it was a real experience for me.
I'm going to ask you to start again, saying, when I came back to the United States, I was placed in Pittsfield.
In Pittsfield,
Could
yeah.
you say that sentence again? When I
came back.
Well, hold on, wait for us to stop speaking.
When I came, I'm sorry, I'm hoarse. When I came back to the United States, I was placed in Pittsfield, and there I stayed for 10 years, 10 very happy years. It was a new experience. It was a new school, and that really was good for all of us. From Pittsfield, we have had wonderful subjects for the congregation. We had Sister, Pauline, her name is not Pauline, Marie Archambault, Lucille Labelle, Norma, Sister Norma.
Many vocations came from
Yes,
Pittsfield.
and Margaret Bonnet, you know who she is, was the
So what, you were teaching in Pittsfield?
I taught the 4th grade for 5 years, and I taught the 5th grade for 5 years, and then I went to Burlington, Vermont, where I stayed 4 years teaching boys only. And they were great. I didn't have any trouble with them. But 6th grade, I enjoyed every minute of it.
So it was a time when the girls and the boys were taught in different
Different
classes?
classes. One side of the school was for the boys and the other side for the girls. And but the year I left, they were put together. So from there I went to Hartford. where I taught 2 years, 6th grade. And after that, I studied. I studied at St. Joseph College. I had a year at St. Joseph College, and that's when I graduated. So,
You graduated with a degree in teaching?
no, just a BS. Just a BS. Because it was not only in teaching, it was just an ordinary BS.
So your first years, all those years you just described, you were teaching and you were living in community.
Right.
And how do you look back at those years of your life? It's sort of a chapter in your life.
When I look back at my teaching years, I really enjoyed them. I enjoyed teaching. And I had a bit of success, you know. I didn't have trouble with the children. And I thought it was nice teaching. My memory. No.
In your first years teaching, you didn't have any background. Who taught you how to teach?
I guess I kind of imitated the sisters that I had seen teaching me. So I guess we learn by imitation, yes. So, I mean, I had all the relative success, like we all do when we try hard. And
You had others who were like mentors for you. They were,
well, usually there was a sister that looked after you and kind of led you in the beginning, looked at your preparation, you know, the preparation of your class. So that's the training that we had, and it wasn't bad at all.
So after you graduated from St. Joseph's, what happened?
Wait a minute.
Did you go back to teaching?
Not right away. First of all, I landed in the hospital with a ruptured appendix. But anyway, what did I do after? I'm trying to look back a little bit.
I know that you went to France for a time. Did you?
It's shortly after that. Yes, it's shortly after that.
Shortly after
Yes.
Shortly after I graduated.
Yes, shortly after I graduated from Saint Joseph College, I went to France. That was 1937, I think. More than 37, I think it was more 39, I think, that I went to France. And I was there for not too long. I was there for 3 years. It was supposed to be longer than that, but I didn't. I fell sick. I had a ruptured. That's when I had my ruptured appendix, and they sent me back to the United States, although I opted to be operated in France. And after that, I've been feeling pretty well.
With all your teaching background, at some point in your life, you took on the responsibility of supervising our schools. Daughters of the Holy Spirit schools? Were you ever the supervisor of our schools?
I was supervisor for the diocese. I forgot the years now, but I supervised our schools and the other schools also. It was quite an experience for me, you know, and it's, whenever it was possible, I tried to give a little bit of help, but discreetly.
You went, was that in the Diocese of Hartford?
No, that was in Norwich,
In the Diocese of Norwich?
Diocese of
So what
Norwich.
did that mean? You went from school to school?
From school to school. I was with another sister, a sister of Baltic, and we visited together. She had one part and I had the other part, and it went along very well. Then I did visit only our schools. At one point I visited only our schools. That's when I went to Swanton and Burlington again, and even down south. So
You did go down south?
I did go down south, and
So you saw schools that the daughters were teaching in throughout New England
yes, I did.
and even in the South.
And,
And
yes,
what was your role? What did you do? What
when-
happened when you got to a school?
when I got to a school, well, first of all, I looked around and I, just observed somewhat. And many times I used to help or give a lesson. Like one year, I had given a lesson how to write a haiku. And
How to,
yes,
to,
how to write it. And the children, they did their best, and some of them did pretty well for children. It was very, I enjoyed it. So that's one of the things that I did. But if I saw that a person was very nervous or something, then I'd take over. Don't leave that poor person in agony.
so you found ways,
Hmm?
you found ways to help the
To-
teachers.
Yeah,
And you were especially sensitive to teachers who might be a little nervous.
yeah. And they appreciated that because you could see the sigh of relief. So, but I had a lot of joy in teaching. I enjoyed it. And even being supervisor, I used to enjoy it. Because I learned a few things too. You can always learn something from others.
And all the time that was happening, let's go back, you go back a long ways. A lot of changes took place in religious life, not just in your ministry, but in the way we were living our religious life. You've lived both the before and the after. No? Can you talk a little bit about how do you remember some of those changes? Can you tell stories about how changes came about? Do you remember when things started changing? Because you were trained one way, and then
And then, but I have to think about that one.
we're interested in how religious life has changed so much since you went to France as an 18-year-old. lived through a
Yeah.
lot of that.
Well, one of the changes, it's not the biggest one, but one of them was a change of habit. That was a, that was a big one. And then,
How did that happen for you? How did that happen? Do you remember what was it like to take off the habit you have?
well, first of all, we had to make it. We had to make it, you know. And, well, those of us who hadn't sewn too much, we did some sewing then. And I still remember this Sunday, you know, we were supposed to change the habit on Sunday, on Easter Sunday. And the kids were all looking to see us in our new habit. You don't remember that?
We're talking about you.
Yeah. Yes. So it was funny. On the sidewalk, the kids were all looking.
So this is in 1954, when we changed from the first habit to what we call our
the modified habit, yeah.
Can you say we changed?
We changed in 1954 from an ordinary habit to a modified habit, and which was very different.
And everybody was watching.
Oh, certainly did. But it was funny to see them. But anyway, it's the thing that happened, and I think it happened for the best. Because of all the washing, we had a lot of washing with our white habits. But these were white, but they weren't hard to wash like the others.
So that was 1954.
1954.
And then something happened around 1970.
We've changed the veil. And then,
Well, let's start by in 1970.
Can you say in 1970?
1970,
What happened? We went into secular clothes, right?
all right.
Remember that?
Yes, I remember that.
So can you say that again? In
In
1970?
1970,
Hold on
we,
1 second. Go ahead.
in 1970, we changed into secular clothes. And first, we had to make some. We had to sew some for ourselves. We did buy some, but we did have to sew many for ourselves. Our community rooms were like workrooms. Everybody who could get a sewing machine, landed at one, and that's the way our habits were made. And really, it's more comfortable than what we had before.
Do you remember Ann Hurst? Do you remember Marjorie Tuitt?
Yes, I
Do you
remember.
remember
I still see.
all the changes we were going through? How did that affect us as a group? What do you remember? You were pointing to something.
Well, she was right there. I can still see her.
And what do you remember about that era?
It was very hard because many sisters left the congregation, and that really made us feel very bad. And it did affect many of us, you see. And
What do you remember about the time with Marjorie Tuitt? You seem to get animated about that.
well, she's the one that was telling us about the changes that would be coming. And of course, we all got a little of, yes. But anyway, whatever she said came to be.
Do you think the changes were for the good, Marie? How did you maneuver all those changes? How do you think?
Well, I think it was a mixed feeling, you know. Some were for the good and others, you know, it was a hard time for all the sisters, you know. And besides that, many of the sisters were leaving. And that really was very painful to all of us. And well, I guess we lived through with the grace of God.
And with your background in education and your importance of teaching, what was it like when Sister Lucille decided that 6 of our schools would close the same year?
That was sad.
It
That
was sad.
It was sad for all of
when we
us.
closed schools.
Yes. Anytime a school was closed, it meant that fewer children would be educated, and by us anyway. And but that I don't remember too much. Yeah. And she was one of my old students.
So you were supervisor, you did your teaching, you were supervisor. Eventually, you retired.
Yes, I retired.
Could you talk a little bit about your retirement years? What did you do?
What did I do? The retirement
Yeah,
years.
retired.
The retired years that I remember the best is the ones in Waterbury. We were 4 sisters there. 3 of us retired, and Sister Claudette was nursing. But we had the nicest community life there. Well, we'd pray together, and it's not that we did a lot of action, we didn't, but we tried to be nice to each other. And so that made community living an asset, really.
And you had some interesting work experiences.
In Waterbury, yes, I did. I worked when I first got there. I worked with the elderly. You know, they had a big hall like this, and the elderly would meet there and eat there, and I would go around and talk to them, and of course they liked people to talk to them, and that was a very interesting event. And then another one, we taught Puerto Ricans English at the YMCA, Sister Imelda and I, and Sister Agnes Brieuc at one time too. And some of them were very good at trying to learn English, but others didn't care whether they were learning or not. But anyway, it made for a little bit of interest.
So even though you were retired, you were pretty active.
We were. And then the company, you know, not the railroad, but anyway, the bus company gave us some not tokens, but a pass. So we could go downtown very easily Of course, we didn't go every day, but we used to. It was nice to be able to go downtown from where we lived. It was quite a ways, you know. We went from west to east, so, but that was interesting too. And I like to go downtown, just shop around and come home with nothing. So,
And then what year, do you remember, you came to the provincial house? Was it because the community was what happened? What happened?
well, at that point, I thought I was getting old and maybe it was time for me to retire here. So in 2003, I came here. I remember that date very well.
Why
Yes.
do you remember that date so well?
Because it was an event, you know. We left Waterbury, and Sister Melda had come before me, and so had Sister Agnes Pearl. So there was only Claudette in Waterbury. So, but we had a wonderful community. I remember the provincial making the visitation, said she'd like to come to our place because we were good. Not good, you know.
So you have been here 10 years, 11 years now.
I've been here,
At the provincial house.
right?
So how do you continue, how do you live? You were a very active woman, and now here you are. How do you live this time of your life? It's another chapter in your life.
Yeah, that's right. And when I first came here, I was able to do a little bit of work. I worked for I used to write letters of thank you letters for Suzanne Roy, you know, who was I used to do that. And now, well, I pray, I read, I do crossword puzzles. And I visit a little bit. Now, that's pretty good.
You visit a little bit.
Yeah, I will visit Sister Rita. I visit, you know, the sisters around our wing. So sometimes they need a little bit of, they like to have a little visit. And I'm more mobile than some of the others, so I'm able to walk around less and less now. So.
You look back, this has been an experience of looking back at your life. You're 98 now, you're looking back. What can you say? How do you feel, and what can you say about these years?
I could say that most of them, I would say, nearly all of them were good years. You know, you have to make your own happiness. And if you do, you're happier. I don't know, you visit a little bit. And I read, you know. I know how to while away the time.
When you look to the future of religious life of the daughters of the Holy Spirit,
I feel bad.
about
I feel bad. Not about the sisters. I hope that they're going to continue living the way they do because I love my community. But I feel bad that the numbers are dwindling so much. I hope that will exist for quite a while longer. I have hope.
I want to talk about legacy and how I would like to be remembered.
Yes, I think when you look back over your life, what do you think you want to be remembered for? What would you like to be remembered for?
That's a hard question. I hope I have done something good for the children and even for my family and my friends. I hope when they remember me, they'll it's not that I want them to think good of me, but I want them to be faithful to God. I'm the last one in my family. But I have loads of nephews and nieces. I have them in the south, in the west, in the east, in the north, in Canada. I have them all over. See, we were 12 children, so out of those 12, they've scattered pretty much all over. So, anyway. I hope that they remember to pray anyway, and when they think of me, they might think of God a little bit.
I think there's so many people that you taught who are going to remember you very fondly.
Well, I know some do. I know. I have some of my pupils here. I have Marie Chambaud, Mary Roy.
Who became daughters of the Holy Spirit.
Yes. And Linda Babineau. And Sister Norma and the other two there. Not too many.
Marie, you're one of the sisters that I know, of the elders, of the eldresses, that has remained really open and peaceful through a lot of changes in your life. You know, as a young sister, you would be one of the people that I looked up to. You know, you always seem to maintain an openness, an open attitude towards life and towards change and towards other people. What's the secret of that? Where did you get that?
I guess you have to pray a little bit, and you have to give of yourself, you know. That's have to try to help people, you know, if a person needs a little help or encouragement, you know, if you can give it to them, you do, and I guess they appreciate it. Not that I want appreciation, but no. But
you You always have had such a gentle spirit, such a peaceful spirit.
Well, I have nothing to. I'm happy with where I am, and I'm happy in my religious life. So I guess that's the secret.
Okay. Anything else?
Very nice. So you got to enjoy life doing what you love.
Right.
Not many, well, not enough people can say that.
Well, of course, once in a while you have a little, but no, I can say that I've been happy.
Anything that we didn't talk about that you'd like to say?
Oh,
And
I think you covered about everything. Yes.
Tell us a story about your teaching. Can you remember a child or a situation or an incident?
Oh, yes.
Tell us a good story about your
Well,
teaching.
Anyway, I was in the 6th grade, and I was teaching, I forgot if it's preposition or something, tense, I think. Wait, I have... Case, you know, a nominative case? Okay, that's what I was teaching. And there was a little fellow next to me. And of course, he didn't listen too much, but he said, "What case?" The other one said, "Objective." "What case?" "Subjective."
So he was cheating.
No, he wasn't cheating. He was asking the fellow. So he wrote what the other one was saying. And finally, the other one said, "What case?" He said, "Suitcase." That was a roar in the class. I never forgot that story.